For this lesson, I will be using page 23 from your math practice book, and I'm just going to be cutting out one of these large tangrams with some scissors. Now, before you start this, boys and girls, please ask a parent for permission and help to do this. So now I have my tangram cut out. A tangram just means I'm using smaller shapes to make up a larger shape. Now, if I turn my tangram over, what shape do you see? It's a square, right? Now, I want you to fold your tangram in half along this line. What shape is it now? A triangle. I'm going to cut it along that line now as well. How many shapes do you see now? 2 triangles. Now I'm going to flip each triangle over and cut out the smaller shapes that make each one up. So now that I've cut out all of the shapes in my tangram, it is easy to see the shapes that make up those larger triangles. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 triangles. I see 1 square, and I see 1 parallelogram. Now, a parallelogram is a shape we haven't gone over just yet, but you may remember it from tangrams in kindergarten. That just means that these 2 sides of the shape are parallel to each other, or they go in the same direction, and these 2 sides are parallel to each other, or they go in the same direction. Looks similar to a rhombus that's just been stretched out. The main focus of this lesson is going to be taking smaller shapes and using them to form a larger shape. Now that we have all of our tangram pieces cut out and spread out, I want to challenge you and see if you can put back the original square that we started with. This is what your original square should have looked like. Now that we've had some practice making a larger shape with our smaller shapes, let's dig a little deeper. To continue this lesson, I'll be using page 19 in our green math practice book. Number 1 is asking us how many shapes were used to make this large square. Let's count. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 7 shapes in this large square. So write a 7 on this first line. The second part of that question is asking us, what are the names of the 3 types of shapes used to make the larger square? I mentioned it before. Let's see if you remember. The first kind is a triangle. Go ahead and write triangle on that first line. The next type we saw is a square. Write square on the next line. And last but not least, we also used a parallelogram. Parallelogram. Number 2 is asking us to use 2 of our tangram pieces to make a square. So I'm going to grab my tangram pieces again. If I had to use just 2 of these pieces to make a square, which ones should I use? Take a minute to try it with your tangram pieces now. I think I could use either these 2, put them together like that, or maybe these larger triangles and put them together like that. Now they want us to draw or trace the pieces that we used to show how we made the square. So I'm just going to freehand it. If you would like to trace, you may. I used one triangle and two triangles. Number 3 is asking us to use 4 of our tangram pieces to make a trapezoid. Draw or trace the pieces to show the shapes you used. Now, if you remember, a trapezoid is shaped like this. What 4 pieces from my tangram could I use to make that shape? If I were going to make a trapezoid, I would use a small triangle, a square, another small triangle, and the parallelogram. Now I can recreate this shape in this section here. Doesn't need to be perfect, but there it is. Moving on to page 20 in our math practice book. Number 4 is asking us to use all 7 tangram pieces to complete this puzzle. If you look closely, you can see the outline of what looks like an animal of some kind. Go ahead and use your tangram pieces to try and figure out how we can recreate this shape with these smaller shapes. To recreate this animal shape, I'm going to use the smaller triangles as the ears, the square for his head, the smaller triangle for his front paws, the 2 larger triangles for his body and legs, and last but not least, the parallelogram is his tail. It looks like this could be some kind of cat or fox. And last but not least, number 5 is asking you to use these tangram pieces to make a bird or flower. Then you must draw or trace to show the pieces that you used on a blank piece of paper. See what objects you can make with your pieces after that. Draw and trace them on a piece of paper to show what you created. Find that you need extra practice for this. You may do lesson 5 homework on pages 21 and 22, or the lesson 6 problem set on pages 25 and 26.